I'd like to call to order the Emerald Park Standing Committee for Monday, April 7th at 5:05 PM. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Abby Litke,
Here.
Patrick Murray. Here. Mark Slocum.
Here.
Scott Kowalski.
Here.
Harvey Schweitzer.
Here.
Alderperson Eileen Madden.
Here.
Greg Burmeister.
Here.
Roland Kiefer. Here. Dan Oltenberger. Chad Siegel. Joe Spear Jr. Here. Recording Secretary Scott Krager here.
Statement of public notice.
Based on the roll, we have a quorum present at this meeting. Oh, and then you do your public. Oh, wait, I'll do it. This meeting was properly noticed in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Open forum. This provides an opportunity for people in the gallery to address the committee on any issues that may be on this agenda or others pertaining to the landfill. There will also be an open forum at the end of the meeting to address any issues that you wish to bring up with respect to the landfill.
I've got a topic that I noticed in the neighborhood today. Coming off of the new driveway, going to the new cell, there was, at 2:30 today, first day I've really noticed it, a lot of dust coming. And I was thinking maybe you might want to be proactive before that gets to be.
Yeah, with the warmer weather conditions and stuff, we'll have our water truck address the dusty conditions on the roads, especially as we continue to move into the spring and summer months. So, yeah, those areas are certainly part of our dust control procedures at the site.
Okay.
I have one question also. How often do you guys pick up debris along Highway 45?
We have at least one temp person there every day, and he's not necessarily out on 45 every day. I'd say we'd probably try to hit it once a week at least. Maybe a little bit more frequently this time of year after the snow melt and those types of things.
Okay, I came back from vacation last week and there's a pile of garbage in front of my neighbor's house, which is still there today. It's pretty much on the lawns now. So I guess we'd appreciate it if you could maybe pick that up a little bit.
Could you clarify the distance that you pick up from?
Yeah, I mean, we typically go down to 36.
Right. That would cover that issue.
Yeah.
I live right across from Frank's office, so
Okay.
PJ's my next door neighbor, and there's quite a bag of garbage laying scattered across the highway there. And I guess I just noticed that it's been lacking a little bit in the last couple of years, that it hasn't been picked up as well as it had been previously.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that area. Yep.
Compliance officer report.
So I'd like to start with last year's year-end report. You should all have a summary in hand. The committee secretary has the printed copy for the library and a copy for the database. And the highlights to point out, it was interesting in 2024, we had 51 audits and 25 construction audits, which is when construction is specific to cell construction. I had to actually go back and check. We have never had all the construction done sort of like in a way that sort of fell on 1 year. We weren't quite here. You can see that the September 24th, 23, the construction started. As far as we were concerned with the discussion of completion, it was September 26th of 2024. And those 25 construction audits are the reason why, even though I don't have any handwritten forms in this particular summary, I still have more paper than we've generated in past summaries because of the number of pictures taken. We skip ahead to the working phase. You'll see that phases 6 and 7 which are what I call the very top of the landfill now, or I mentioned it's within the footprint. That area is very small. It gets smaller every time they go up a lift. That is why the leachate generation volume's gone down and control of the active area has become smaller and easier. This will eventually be capped this summer. So obviously not part of this report, but the purpose is to be capped. And in November, they started receiving the waste down in the new cell, which is termed as phase 8. And we've been through this before. They place a fluff layer first, which means that to protect the leachate collection layer and protect the liner itself, it's a select lift of MSW that shouldn't have anything long enough or sharp enough to poke through the liner. And as part of my regular report, I'll say that they finished that last week. There were no issues with leachate or really gas in this last year. The installation of the tank they put in 23 makes the leachate management a lot easier for them. And the gas and leachate brings us easily to odors. There were 13 odor complaints that were called into JSA or to the clerk, and there was also 13 times odor was recorded in an audit. Out of the odor complaints, 6 were identified as waste management's, and it was a garbage odor. Obviously, the waste management has had a cover issue during this past year. The other 6 of the direct complaints were gas and 1 garbage, and that odors recorded during audits are simply garbage odors that were either in the parking lot or on the access road or on US 45. 6 of those also ended up being waste management's. And my last 2 comments, I still have identified erosion on the north slope of phase 4, and it's due to the gas vehicles going up and down to do their sampling. And I think that covers it.
Questions? Comments? You're getting way too easy, Joe.
Wendy pays me extra to get the meeting over.
Where is the project with the wetlands?
Could you speak into here?
Where they had readjusted the wetlands? They were working on that pretty much all winter?
Right, the reshaping of the floodplain. And that was completed 2 weeks ago, so. I did not, let me start over. I did not make that a priority as it's outside of the waste mass and the future use. It's not going to ever be a cell. It's sort of like landscaping as far as the operations are concerned.
Any other questions, comments? Status of projects, clay extraction?
So there's really been no current soil activities at the site. We finished off the stockpile to the north of the old Briggs building, which if you now drive by will notice that has started to come down. But however, we will be looking at, like Joe mentioned, we do have approximately 10-acre final cover project scheduled for this year towards the northern end of the site. So that will require some clay, either from current stockpiles or future cell construction areas. I anticipate that project to begin probably sometime in May, maybe early June. We're working with our current contractor on that, and the consultant is working on preparing construction drawings and spec sheets for all of that work. And like I said, that probably will be about a 4 or 5 month project that would begin in May or June timeframe.
MMSD, gas house?
Yeah, I mean, the project is, I mean, our gas delivery has been really good over the last several months. Our run times have been well over 90% in terms of delivery to the district. The gas quality was a little bit suspect early on in the year with some high oxygen. We're starting to see that moderate a little bit, so that will only help improve those delivery numbers to the district. But other than that, the plant itself is come out of winter, I think, pretty good. And we anticipate those run times to continue as we move into spring and summer.
Electronic recycling?
Really no issues there. We're able to keep up with what's coming in. I think we're doing every other week or so with the emptying of the containers. So no issues there, and I think things are running well.
Okay. Residential drop-off?
It's getting busier with the warmer weather. We've got a dedicated person again at the little shed that we have out front there that I think is working out well for us. The one thing that we have tried to do is empty a few of the containers actually on Friday or towards the end of the day, so that we have more room and capacity for the Saturday residents to come in. There were times where things were filling up quite a bit on Fridays, and was making some of the room pretty tight for the Saturday residents that were coming in. So we are trying to empty some of those boxes on Friday and making sure that we got room and capacity for folks that come in on Saturday. But other than that, things have been going well.
Question, please.
Yeah.
Is the fellow at that shack not supposed to be checking driver's license?
He is supposed to be checking driver's
Yeah,
license.
well, the last 2 times I was there, he did not ask for mine, and
Okay.
I don't think he
Does
recognizes.
he? Well, he's a rather conversational gentleman,
He's
so.
very helpful.
He is very
as
helpful.
to,
So I
you
think
know,
he does become familiar with a number of the folks that come there on a routine basis, but I will reinforce the checking of the IDs, because people do get confused or try to come in without that on occasion,
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah, so I'll have a conversation with him again on that.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
Yep.
Well testing?
Yeah, so the well testing that was completed in 2024, the letters went out to all of the residents on, I believe, January 21st, excuse me, was the date of those letters. Really no issues with the sample collection, and all the data indicates no impacts from the landfill, which is what we want, and really no issues in terms of maybe some typical contaminants that you would see from normal groundwater. But all in all, again, everything I think went very well, and the letters have been out, and we haven't heard any feedback from anybody or any concerns with the information that was provided.
Okay. Plan modification issues?
There's really nothing into the department right now. It's possible we may be looking at a plan modification associated with the expansion, but at this point in time, we're still working with our consultant on things. So nothing pending and nothing imminent at this point.
Okay. Property protection, sociological, anything there?
No, I mean, no one has approached us with a request to exercise the property protection, so nothing, doesn't look like anybody's looking to sell at this point. And the sociological payments for 2024 were made roughly the middle of January, and I assume if anybody didn't get their check, I would have certainly heard that by now, so.
Household hazardous waste.
All right, so everyone should have 2 reports in front of them. If you remember last time, I shared with you that I didn't have year-end invoices and reports from our vendor Veolia, so I would be sharing today the 2024 wrap-up and what the year looked like. So the first report I'll go over, if you see in the top left corner, it should say EPL Committee 2024. Really, the big data to take away from this report is that we had about 200 more participants than we did in 2023, for a total of just over 4,300 participants using our household hazardous waste collection sites. That's about a 5% increase in total participation. Our costs for the year were about $312,000, and our collection went up more than to 223,000 pounds. So that was about a 6% increase from 2023. Really, the tables below, you'll see it's just a summary of each site by month. It just provides a little bit more of a granular breakdown of what's happening at each site. What you'll see, though, and what I've seen, is trends in 2023 and 2024, and I expect to experience it again in 25. It seems like it really picks up in activity this summer. So as we head into the year, it gets a little warmer out. People are really looking to clean out their garage and get rid of that stuff. So for instance, in 23 and 24, we were having about 700 residents using sites beginning in May. So we see that uptick, and then once it gets cold out, less residents come through the site. But overall, I'd consider it a good year. From an education perspective, my staff provided household hazardous waste information to about almost 400 residents on the phone, email, through our website, and through education programs. We have a really active social media presence, and this year we made a really concerted effort to incorporate a lot of that household hazardous waste information and education into our adult workshops and other programming, which is pretty neat to see. Are there any questions about 2024 household hazardous waste? No?
Yeah, I have one or a couple, I guess.
Okay.
You show the cost per participant going down and also the labor cost. What's triggering the labor cost? Because I assume the labor cost going down rolls over into the cost per participant.
Sure. So the labor costs, my understanding is, at least at the Menominee Falls site, they're using less staff to staff that location than they had previously. That's my understanding in the reduction in overall labor costs. So we're seeing that kind of averaging out to be a lower per cost per participant.
That's a big drop in labor. That's what I just...
I agree. If it's helpful, I can ask more information from Veolia about if there's a specific pointer on that prop.
Just tell them thank you, and if you'd like me to repeat.
I will point out, too, one thing to me that stands out when I look at that top table. It says a landfill cost % difference. So that's all the way on the right side of the page, of 884% change. And that number isn't really accurate. So I did a little bit of digging into this. What happened was, in 2023, Veolia had a number of staff turnover in the program, and we had several invoices that were wildly inaccurate. So they owed us a pretty large credit. And what happens is, when that's applied, they have to apply it to a specific category after the fact. It just so happened that they applied it to this landfill cost. So prior to these credits being applied, our costs were nearly identical from 2023 to 2024 in that category.
Okay.
All right, so I will pivot then to 2025. That's that other worksheet that I gave you. So again, with the timing of this committee meeting, this table here only represents our activity of January through February of 2024 versus January through February of this year. And again, the big take home here is that in 2025, we've had more participants. We've had 189 so far across 2 months. We've collected about 5,300 pounds of waste, and we've spent just shy of $13,000 to facilitate the program across 2 months. Are there any questions on January and February of this year? If not, I'll share a brief update on the Muskego site. So you all know I've been working to get a new location for Muskego Collections. I shared at the last meeting that working with WM, they had proposed that instead of looking at the WM Metro site, we would look at their closed landfill. So since that meeting, I've had several meetings with WM and Veolia to take a site tour, look at the facilities, see if it would work for our needs. And then number two, we put together, I guess what you could call a proposal for how we would like this site to operate. Essentially what they've offered to us, if you're familiar with the area, it's the Stone Ridge landfill on, I think it's Wauer Lane is how you pronounce it. What we're proposing, or what WM and Veolia and Waukesha County would like to do, is put a temporary fence down the middle of that paved area and then reserve the south side of the fence for WM traffic to go in and out of the landfill. And then the north side of that paved area would be just for household hazardous waste collections. So we would run a loop where Veolia would bring in some shipping containers where their staff would stage the area, collect material, and then cars could drive around the shipping container and back out the drive. I really like it. I have a very informal map here if anyone after this meeting would like to take a look at what we're thinking. Essentially, our next steps are, though, I have sent the temporary lease agreement that Veolia has with the landfills to WM for review. I've also sent over that draft agreement that I put together last year. You may remember when we were working on the old site. I sent that over to WM, and now it is in the hands of their real estate group. It's my understanding that they're pretty short-staffed right now, so they haven't given me a firm timeline, but they are very well aware that I would like this to happen immediately, preferably right this year. But really, the major components that need to be done are to sign some sort of an agreement and to get that fence in there. Of course, I wouldn't want to install a fence until this committee has approved the site and we've signed an agreement with everyone.
Where
Any
is that
questions?
site located?
That is at the Stone Ridge landfill, so that address is South 82 West 21595 Wauer Lane. It's W-A-U-E-R Lane. I have a map, I can share it with you. I'm not,
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
familiar where that would be.
Right off Crowbar Road and Janesville Road.
Oh, okay, and that's one we were talking about. like,
Correct.
Site two.
correct.
When they would bring the containers, so you have to move them after every,
No, they would allow us to use that area. We would just lock it up and keep the large shipping containers there. Veolia's told me that as soon as we could sign an agreement, they could get themselves staged in 2 to 3 weeks to bring the shipping containers out. They would probably bring like a porta-john or whatever their staff needs to be comfortable for collections. But we are looking at fulfilling the same type of service schedule that we had when we were at the GFL site. That would be the first and third Saturdays in the month, March through November. Just replicating that same schedule.
Okay, but they're interested in going with a lease, you said?
It's a document that Veolia works with the landfill directly to sign. It's my understanding Veolia had an agreement similar. Dan might be able to speak to it more clearly. We weren't on it. It was just for their use of being on site.
Okay. Yes.
So stating first, I'm an engineer, not a lawyer. But if the committee's name is going to be on this lease, I think you should bounce it off a lawyer. The way most sites work.
Just a minute. No, we are not going to be on the lease.
No.
The lease would be between Veolia and Waste Management.
All right, then I don't have a concern.
Okay. Okay, new business? Nothing. Continuing business? Nothing. Other business attached, you will find the financial statements for the committee. I have a couple of questions of my own that Wendy is going to check into. Okay, confirm next meeting date. And The tour of the landfill, it looks like it's scheduled for, anticipated for June 23rd, 2025. So we need to confirm the remaining, yes,
Can we back up to finances?
yes.
I have a question on these detailed ledgers. Are all of those expenses coming out of,
That's,
He brought that to my attention, and I don't run these reports, and I'll be honest, I don't review them much. The same person gives them to me every quarter, I just attach them. These, yes, we're gonna go back and review these. I don't know if she ran something wrong or put in a wrong, criteria?
there's a number of things jumped out, like
yeah,
paying for a vehicle.
yeah,
That's not it, I promise.
That number jumped right out. And then going to Menards and card services. And whoa, what's up with this? Oh, Chad, you don't have a new vehicle by chance, do you? If we paid for it, where is it? I don't know, 45, I don't know if you get into the truck for that anymore. That was just kind of jumped out at me real quick.
yeah, there was a number of things that, the very final balance for what I consider the committee's fund, which was really the concern that I have, looks to be where it should be. I think it's 148,000, 146,000, whatever. About where it should be.
Right.
And that is money that is available to the committee to be able to use for, usually, I would expect it to be some type of research or investigation or something over and above that, you know, the city isn't doing or the landfill isn't doing. So,
Thank you.
okay, back to confirm the next meeting dates. Do you have some proposals, Wendy, or?
Well, June 23rd was what you guys decided back last October as one of the meeting dates. So is everybody still happy with June 23rd? I mean, it's not set in stone, but you guys were happy with it last year.
That's the tour date.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we need some more, we need 3 more dates?
No,
We're good.
we don't do dates till October.
Okay,
No, we do the whole year at a time. We're good.
okay. Okay, the next meeting date is the June 23rd, okay.
Yes.
Getting myself straightened around,
Yes.
okay. Okay, at this time, we have citizen commentary, this is 15
Quick
minutes.
question on the.
Whoop, I'm
the-
sorry,
The tour date. Is the meeting going to be at the landfill that day, or is it going to be?
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, we have a 15-minute time period for citizens to respond or have their questions answered. Do you have any, sir?
Full disclosure, this is Alderperson Decker. This is one of our aldermen just in the, who's for the city of Muskego. Please state your name, address, everything. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dennis Decker, W192S6324, Regency Court, Apartment G, Muskego. One time a while back, there was a question raised about the operating hours of the landfill. I don't know what the operating hours are, but I think the person expressed an interest in expanding them. And I don't know if that's possible or not.
I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to, but we do from time to time address issues that are typically brought up by the landfill company And they typically have to do with construction at the landfill, and they ask for expanded hours for usually very specific time periods, because things have gotten behind, whatever, number of reasons. And most of the time, those requests are granted, although they get modified a number of times. And once that time period is over, that request for hours goes away. And so they go back to their normal opening, closing hours for all activities on the site.
I think, Mark, he's referring to residential drop-off hours.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh. Okay. You were asking, could it be expanded? I guess I
Yeah,
missed.
there seemed to be an interest in that on the part of at least somebody. And then this was expressed a while back.
I think, Dan, the logistics of that is hard to expand those hours.
Yeah, I think we're fine just keeping the hours as is.
What are they on Saturday, just out of curiosity? 8 to noon.
Well, you got all day Friday.
All day Friday.
All day Friday,
Okay. Okay.
okay? Yeah, you got 8 till noon on Saturday, but realize the landfill closes
Yeah.
on Saturday early.
11 o'clock, the landfill is so we're open an hour beyond that.
Okay. Just wondered. Thank you.
Landfill is open till at least 5 on Saturday.
Communications and any other business as authorized by law. Joe?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
could we go back to the HHW?
Yes?
I apologize. I have a strong concern that because of the way household hazardous and hazardous waste is treated, that it's a touch and forever own. So I am concerned that if the committee goes ahead with working with this position on a landfill surface that is not owned by them, they may in some way be responsible for the site. And like I said, I just think you need a lawyer to check it out.
It will get reviewed. That it will. One of the first places is right at the county itself. They end up using their corporate legal to review any initial contracts that this committee would get involved with. Right?
Yep, I would just echo, our corporation counsel has reviewed every draft so far, and they would absolutely be part of that. And then I'd, of course, share it back with you guys.
But I understand, that's part of my concern. That's my original question about the lease. We haven't done that before as a committee, entered into a lease, and then it was explained to me that it's not the committee. That lease issue is between Veolia and Waste Management, which is basically between the operator of the site and the owner of the site.
But then the committee will still be, well, the communities will be identified as the source.
Waukesha County's got to be involved somewhere.
Yeah,
I just feel like it was my due diligence to make sure it was discussed.
no, I understand. That's somewhat my concern about doing that activity at a closed landfill site. But if done right, there isn't a problem. Any other issues that are allowed by law? Upon hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Eileen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. We are adjourned at 5:38.